Hey guys, in this video I'll show you how to factor by grouping when we have trinomials with a leading coefficient other than 1. So let's get started with this one. 2x squared plus 5x plus 2. Now you see that the leading coefficient is 2, which is not equal to 1. So in that case, you can factor by grouping. So how do we factor by grouping? You always multiply the coefficient of x squared with the constant. And here in this case, it's 2 times 2, which is 4. And we need to find out the factors of 4 that adds to give us a 5. The factors are 1 and 4. Now you cannot write down the factors directly as x plus 1 and x plus 4 as we did in trinomials where the leading coefficient was 1. So what do we do with these numbers? We use 1 and 4 to split the middle term 5x. So you'll say this is 2x squared plus 4x plus x plus 2. Now we said this method is called factoring by grouping. So you make two groups here. This is one group, that's the other group. Now in the first group, we see that 2x is the greatest common factor. So you take 2x, you'll be left with x, because 2x times x gives you 2x squared, plus 2x times 2 gives you 4x. Plus, in the second group, we see that the greatest common factor is 1. You'll be left with x plus 2. Always make sure the binomial in the parentheses is the same. Okay. Now, after you are done with that, you take that binomial as the greatest common factor from this term and that term. So if we take x plus 2 as the greatest common factor from this term, you are left with a 2x plus a 1. So we took x plus 2 as the common factor. From this term, we are left with 2x, and from this term, we are left with a 1. Okay, let's do another problem. Let's take 3x squared minus 8x plus a 4. Now, as I said, you multiply the coefficient of x squared with the constant. 3 times 4 is 12. So we need factors of 12 that adds to give you negative 8. The factors of 12 that adds to give you negative 8 are negative 6 and negative 2. Negative 6 times negative 2 is positive 12. Negative 6 plus negative 2 is negative 8. So you will split this middle term, negative 8x, using the numbers negative 6 and negative 2. So we have 3x squared minus 6x minus 2x plus 4. That's equal to. Now we have to factor by grouping. This is the first group, that's the next group. The greatest common factor for the first group is 3x. If we take 3x as the greatest common factor, we are left with x minus a 2. 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times negative 2 is negative 6x. Now in these two terms, we can take negative 2 as the greatest common factor, and you'll be left with x minus 2. Now if we take negative 2 as the common factor, the sign changes here, because if we go ahead and distribute, negative 2 times x gives us a negative 2x, negative 2 times a negative 2 gives us a positive 4. Okay, So you have to make sure if you distribute, you should get the same terms that you have here. Now you see that x minus 2 is common to both the terms. When I say both the terms, this is one term, that's the other term. Now we'll take that x minus 2 as the common factor. You'll be left with 3x minus 2. Again, this 3x is coming from this term and negative 2 is coming from this term. Okay. Let's do another one. If we have a 4x squared minus 15x minus 25, the process is same. You multiply the leading coefficient with the constant. 4 times the negative 5 is negative 100. We need factors of negative 100 that adds to give you negative 15. Okay, so factors of negative 100 that adds to give you a negative 15. Oh, okay. So negative 20 and a 5. Negative 20 times 5 is negative 100. Negative 20 plus 5 is negative 15. Now, write down the first term, which is 4x squared, split the middle term, which is negative 15, using the numbers negative 20x and 5x minus 25. This is one group, that's the other group. The common factor for these two, or the greatest common factor for those two, is 4x. You can take x minus 5 in parentheses because 4x times x is 4x squared. 4x times negative 5 is negative 20x. Now in this group, we have 5 as the greatest common factor. We are left with x minus 5. Now you see that x minus 5 is common to both. So we can take x minus 5 as the common factor from those two terms. You are left with a 4x in this term and then a 5 in this term. Okay, again, the 4x came from here, 5 comes from here. Okay, let's do one more, one last one. 4x squared plus 4x minus 15. You can always pause the video and try on your own. So we have 4 times the negative 15, which is negative 60. We want factors of negative 60 that adds to give us a 4. Okay, we can use 6 and 10, but signs, okay, yeah, 10 and a negative 6. 10 times negative 6 is negative 60. 10 minus 6 is a 4. So let's split the middle term. Plus 10x minus 6x minus 15. By the way, this method is also called splitting the middle term method. So we have two groups here, 4x squared plus 10x minus 6x minus 15. Okay, so in the first group, we know that 2x is the greatest common factor. If we take 2x, we'll be left with 2x because 2x times 2x is 4x squared plus 2x times 5 gives us a 10x minus 6x and 15. Greatest common factor is 3. You'll be left with 2x plus 5. And then you see that this one has 2x plus 5. This term also has 2x plus 5. So we can take 2x plus 5 as the greatest common factor. You'll be left with 2x minus, in this term we'll be left with negative 3. So the 2x came from here and negative 3 came from here. Done.